Hello and welcome to Fire in the Belly. Today we have myself, Mighty Pete, and we have the Deirdre Maguire. Good afternoon to you.
Hi, Pete. How are you today?
Wonderful, thank you. Wonderful. Welcome to the show. It's great to have you on here.
Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm delighted to be here.
Well, listen, it's always great to have people who have passion and fire in your belly. So to give everyone a bit of background, so Deirdre is a world-class mind wellness expert, life coach, author, and master change agent. She helps people get happier because she knows happiness is a skill. Through Deirdre's fast and effective transformational work, her clients see then change the patterns of thinking so that they can manage their emotions, let go of the limiting beliefs, and get the life that they want. She has the proof because she is the proof. That's brilliant. I love that. So her personal journey has become her professional passion. Deirdre has worked with thousands of people all over the world and facilitates transformation at the deepest levels using her one-to-one private packages, her online Mindset Mastery Introductory, and her signature program, the Stress Solution System. So Deirdre, welcome to the show. It's wonderful to have you here today.
God, I'm very impressed myself. I'd like to meet that woman.
She's great. Exactly. I must give her a ring here and see what's happening.
Give her a ring and see what the crack is.
That's good indeed. Listen, it's amazing. It's beautiful. So tell us, what's your fire in your belly, first of all?
Well, as I say, my personal journey has become my professional passion. And my tagline is, your freedom is my promise. And it's funny, I have a private Facebook group and it's called the Freedom Community. And one of the girls asked only yesterday, she said, I'd like you to answer this question, Deirdre. Why do you call the Freedom Community the Freedom Community? And I thought to myself, that what I want more than anything else is that people are free, that they feel a freedom within themselves to be themselves. And so that's the fire in my belly. I remember when I was creating my website, and I had a marketing person, and she was telling me, you do this and you do that and you do the other, and she was being the professional person. That's what I was paying her for. So I gave her a place and was teachable. I was listening to what she said. And then she said, by the way, what's your tagline? And I said, your freedom is my promise. And she went, no, we can't have that. And I said, why, what's the problem? And she said, no, that's litigious. People could sue you for saying your freedom is my promise. And I remember the feeling where I took over, where my innate wisdom spoke loudly. And I said, no, this is the truth, that I know what it's like not to have my freedom. And I know what it's like to have gained my freedom. And it's not what people think necessarily, because freedom is actually a responsibility. Your freedom, your own personal freedom, when you get down to it, actually becomes your responsibility. It's a daily practice. Your own freedom is a daily practice. It means that you have to ask yourself hard questions. Do I have, a stress-free life? Absolutely not. I got a parking ticket this morning. I've got a letter from a company that said that I didn't pay my parking ticket in their car park. And I'm like, I did. So now I have to waste my day trying to figure this out or what to do, it causes me. But the difference is that I know that I have a choice in how I choose to respond to that situation. And that's where the freedom lies. I'm sure you're familiar, Pete, with the book Man's Search for Meaning, written by Viktor Frankl. And for those who don't know, Viktor Frankl was an Austrian psychotherapist, and he was Jewish, and he was captured by the Germans. And he spent time in Auschwitz. His family were all killed, but they kept him alive. And he survived it. But what he noticed was the attitude of people. It wasn't the conditions. It was how people addressed and dealt with the conditions. So typically they should have been dead. They were frozen. They had no food. They had, they were deprived. And yet he could see the difference in the people who survived and those who didn't. And it came down to quite simply their attitude. And so that's why I say your freedom is my promise. He says between the stimulus and the response, there is a gap. Between the stimulus and the response, there is a gap. Herein lies our freedom. So when I get the ticket, the ticket's the stimulus, and my response is my choice. But so many of us have no idea that we have a choice. I certainly had no clue that I had a choice in how I responded to the world. I just thought, sit up, shut up, do what you're told, be a good girl, Santa will come. And, if you're really good, you'll get into heaven. And if you're bad, you won't, you'll burn in hell. And that's basically the belief system that I was, that I was given. And it absolutely didn't work for me. I tried to make sense of the world and I couldn't. And I tried a whole lot of stuff. I tried the drinking. I didn't try drugs. Well, I did a wee bit. I smoked some at one stage, didn't do hard drugs, but I tried the eating, and then I tried the not eating. I tried I tried everything, and none of it worked. But as we were saying before we started recording here today, what I say is I've never been older, I've never been fitter, and I've never been happier, because I know that happiness is a skill. And that is where the true freedom is, because it's something you can learn. I am not naturally happy. Naturally, I want to give off about the ticket. I naturally, and when I say that naturally, I mean those are programs that I have been programmed to be sad. And so when I know that I have the choice in how I respond to the ticket, it's not always easy. It doesn't feel like freedom in the the Hollywood sense, because it's actually a choice. It's a responsibility. So does that answer your question, Pete? Do you have a sense of what my fire in the belly is?
I do, and I'm curious. What is the parking ticket taught you?
To take a photograph, to keep the receipt. To keep the receipt, I did do it. I needed to take a photograph of the ticket again. Secondly, I will never go back to that parking place. But it's a good question. It's actually taught me to be more responsible. You need to be more aware. My niece was helping me today, and we were looking for the ticket, and I said, I know I threw that ticket out because I like to keep my car clean, but I didn't realize that ticket is actually proof and it's a receipt. So keep your receipts. I think that's what it's taught me.
It's that awareness, isn't it? As you say, it's just to be present, or to be aware or present as to what's going on.
Yes. And not in I know people who keep all the receipts and life is fear-based. I do not want my life to be fear-based. And of course, the other thing is, what does this flag up? What do I believe? What do I believe about me? What do I believe about money? What do I believe about the other people? Are they out to get me? The ticket people? Our lives are driven by what we believe to be true. What you believe to be true is true for you. The question is, what are you believing in this present moment? So when the email comes, it wasn't an email, it was a letter, and it has a photograph of me going into the car park at 11:30 and leaving the car park at 3:30 or whatever. And there's no proof of what else happened. We delete, distort, and generalize. You see a thing and you make an assumption, but the truth about it is all it is a photograph of me going in and a photograph of me going out. And what I believe in that moment is, what am I saying to myself? And I know what happened when I saw the thing. I immediately went into some kind of fight or flight. My body went into fight or flight. In other words, I got stressed. And I got the letter on Friday. So over the weekend, it is processed in my mind. And now what I actually believe is that it's my fault. It's my fault. And I somehow there's something wrong with me because I didn't do what I was supposed to do. And so when I can see all that and know that that's not true, it's not a judgment of me. It's just what happened. And you know what I could do? I could pay, it's £60. It's 60 quid, which is gut wrenching. But the bottom line is that I have money in my bank account that I could pay the £60 if I chose to. I could write the check, pay the £60 and let it go. Because where is the value? What I'm actually doing is putting more value in money than I am in me. So either I write the ticket, pay it, move on, because it's only money. That's a big one. What do we believe about money? Do I believe there's not enough of it? Do I believe that I'm wasting it? Do I believe I'm throwing away? You could make a whole project out of this ticket. Mm-hmm. You really could, because it will reveal who I am. It will reveal what I believe about myself. It will reveal what drives my life. When 9/11 happened, the angry people got angry, the scared people got scared, the guilty people got guilty. It's not what's happening in the world. It's how we perceive the world. Mm. And it always comes back to what Viktor Frankl said, between the stimulus and the response, there is a gap. Herein lies our freedom.
Is that like almost the journey from the head to the heart? You have the physical activity of what's happening, and then what we sort of really feel about the situation. Is it the same thing, do you think?
Well, emotions drive our life. It's not events. It's not people. It's what we feel. So that's exactly right. I mean, if the head is the logic and the heart is the emotions, absolutely, it is from the head to the heart. I mean, head-wise, it's not an international incident unless I make it. But in my world, in my emotions, I turn it into a big thing. So someone else just writes it. I suppose, Pete, what's underlying this is I absolutely paid my ticket. It's the injustice. Like if I park in Dublin Lines and the traffic warden gives me a ticket, I will write the ticket in 2 seconds, because I know I'm wrong, and that's right. And I have done that. I have done something like that and immediately written the ticket. And I thought, let it go, get the ticket written and get it done. But there's something about the injustice here that's niggling at me, that makes me want to not write the check, because it isn't fair. It's not right. But the continuing saga, I'll let you know what we've done is we've appealed it. We've written a letter saying that, and of course you start to doubt yourself after a while, because I remember thinking, I was at the hairdressers, and the hairdresser took a long time, and I thought, come on, But I remember getting back to the car and looking at it and thinking, that's great. I actually had extra time. I remember having that thought. And now it has turned the opposite. Someone is saying, no, we're right and you're wrong. It's interesting.
It's very interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not what's happening in your life. It's the meaning you give to it. It's not what you're doing. It's not what you are doing. It is how you are doing what you're doing. It's not what you do. It's how you do what you do. So someone is a workaholic and they work 23 hours a day and they love it. They love their life and they wouldn't have it any other way. They just love it. And someone else looks at that person working 23 hours and says, that person's mad. That person's insane. They're not taking care of themselves. They're not doing. But if that person is happy doing it, they're happy doing it. You know, it's not what you do. It's how you do what you do. And 10 years ago, I had cancer. I was diagnosed with cancer and I had surgery, and I said yes to the surgery and no to the chemotherapy and radiation. And my journey is not about whether or not to have chemotherapy and radiation. My journey is about, you know, it was the biggest, you know, yes. Saying no to chemotherapy and radiation was the biggest yes to my truth, which is that, you know, you can take charge of your own mind, body, and spirit. And I was never taught that. Certainly I was never taught that. But I had spent my life learning about it. And that was exactly when I really learned it's not what you do, it's how you do what you do. So you could be, I was living, I knew that stress, you know, stress knocks out the immune system. When you are stressed, when you are in fight or flight, your immune system is turned off. And I was recovering from cancer. So I could not allow myself to be stressed. And you would say, well, Deirdre, who wants to be stressed? But a lot of us live like that. A lot of us live from stress to stress to stress. We just, you know, we worry about this and we worry about that, and then we worry about the next thing. And if there's nothing to worry about, we find something to worry about because it's our habitual way of being. So when I knew, you know, when I knew in my heart that this was what I needed to do, I knew logically, I'd studied enough of it. I knew that when we go into, you know, when the fight or flight response is activated, everything that's not necessary is turned off. You know, your body is like going to war. It's either going to fight the bear or flight the bear. And so if you're going to fight, well, then you don't need your digestive system. You don't need your brain. You don't need your prefrontal cortex. That's turned off. You don't need a cell. It's not a time for cell repair. You need your heart beating faster so the blood is pumped so that you can have your fists up so you can fight the bear. Or you can flight the bear. So you need the blood to your legs so that you can run away. So that's the fight or flight stress response. So I knew all this. And but knowing it is one thing, and applying it on a daily basis, day after day after day. So I was so used to being stressed, living in a stressed mindset, that when the cancer came and I decided to do what was right for me, which was to have the surgery and not to have the chemotherapy and radiation, and but to really honor my truth and live in alignment with what I believe to be true, which is, you know, peace in each present moment. But that's okay saying that. And that's okay saying, it's okay writing books about it and doing articles about it in blogs. But when you when you are sitting and you get a creak in your hip and you think, oh shit, that's it. That's it now. You know, you get a tight, you know, you get a tightness in the back of your neck and oh my God, that's it going right through my body. And then you have to bring yourself back to the present moment. And you have to say, my body knows exactly how to heal. You know, I'm not dying. What am I believing in this moment? What am I believing? Oh my God, I'm dying. Well, is that true? Am I dying? Am I dying in this present moment? Well, actually, no. And I remember doing it. I remember looking and going, am I dying? No, I'm not actually dying. So I might as well start living. So I might as well live now. And I live just now. All I've got is Pete. Pete and I are sitting here, and that's all I have. And that's all I have to think about. That's all I have to enjoy. That's all I have to worry about. That's all I have to do is this present moment. And if I have this present moment, there's nothing to worry about. Why don't I just enjoy? What if I could enjoy this present moment? So that's what I started to do. Let's just do now. Let's just do now. Let's just do now. And, you know, I liken it to, you remember the wee flick books that we used to get when we were kids in school, you know, where there's a wee man in the corner. And if you flick the book, it looks like he's running, but actually he's not moving. It's just, and what if life is just like a flick book? Each page is just lived. Each moment is just lived like each page. And I'm not saying I've mastered it, Pete, but I've gotten a lot better at it. I still get my ticket days where I go, oh, for God's sake, what's going on here? But the difference is that I recover more easily. Mm-hmm. I will be able to let that go. I haven't completely let it go yet. I can deal with it. In fact, this is really helping. This is actually, thank you, Pete. This is helping me with my ticket. You see, God, life, the universe, whatever you want to call it, the synchronicity of life will send the solution if you're open to it. So that's not how I thought it was going to be resolved. But yeah, that's good. Thank you for that. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. It does. Yeah. I'm curious. You mentioned the word alignment a while ago. And I'm curious, I mean, where are you at on your journey and sort of who you are and who you truly are? I mean, how aligned are you with your true self?
That's a really, really good question. I would say, I want to say I'm 90% there. You know, I've come a long, long way. 20 years ago, my father took his own life, you know, and he was 72. He had everything going for him. He was a very successful businessman. I'm the eldest of 5 children. We all loved him. He had 10 grandchildren. He had a wife who loved him. He had a business. He was a property man. He had bought and sold properties. He had tick, 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 tick. But inside, he had hurts and pains from the past. And in the end, he went with the only option left to him and took his own life. And I had made it my mission to save my dad. And nothing had worked. So as you know, as we lowered the coffin into the ground on that January day, I had only one truth left, that I had failed. So that was the lowest point of my life. But this is what I say to clients today. What if the lowest point is actually the turning point? So the days and weeks and months that followed my father's death were just an emotional blur, hurtling from sadness to anger to my own suicidal thought. But always one constant, this search, you know, why did my father have to die? Is death the only option left? And clearly that does become the only option for people. is death the only option left? Are we ever doomed, to be trapped by the traumas of the past? So you can imagine that my father didn't just walk in one day and say, I've had enough, I'm leaving. He was 72. So, to put me into context, my father and my mother, they both had hurts and pains in the past. And I come into, as I say to my clients, we are perfect and we come into an imperfect world. And I do actually remember, I have a memory of being 12 years of age, where I do believe in a moment I surrendered my life to the system. I surrendered my life to the family system. I said, I'll be a good girl and I'll do the best I can to please you. And of course I failed miserably, so therefore I was a failure. And so then the journey was almost about the journey back, the journey back to me. And, I'll be 66 next month. And I can't, it doesn't, when I think about, 66-year-olds, I think, well, no, that's not me. And so am I in alignment with my true self? A lot more than I would have been, than I was in the, the interim between when I remember being 12 and surrendering to the system. And now I'm 66 and it's been a journey. And like I say, it is what, they call it the hero's journey, where, the shit hits the fan, the proverbial shit hits the fan, however it happens, the pain comes. And then comes the purpose. And now I waken up every day and start again to get into alignment with me. I feel sometimes closer to it than others. But my commitment to myself and to others is to be as honest as I can. This is my why, Pete. My why is to live my best life, to evolve into my best self. This is my why. This is the actual why. To evolve into my best self so that others may do the same. And it took me a long time to get to that, evolution. The word evolve is specifically chosen, not to be, because if I'm evolving, I'm always learning. I'm always growing. So there's no end point. So to evolve as my best self so that others may do the same, because I want to be the proof. And some days are easier than others. Does that answer your question?
It does. It does. Can I ask, if you don't mind, I mean, how have you come to terms with, your father's actions? I mean, how have you sort of packaged that or summarized that in your life?
Well, here's what it took me a while to get this, and this is what I taught myself first, and now I teach others. I am totally at peace. Like, as I say, my father was 72. I was his eldest daughter. We worked together every day. My family had a business, and although I had trained and qualified as a teacher, I have an honours degree in education, and I had done that for a while. I'd done a whole lot of different things, because as what I see now, I was actually searching for answers. But at the time, when my father died, I was actually working with him in our family furniture business here in Newcastle. And but I was searching for these other answers. I was doing, I'd qualified myself as a life coach. I had trained with the Samaritan. No, that was training with the Samaritans. It was after Daddy died, actually. But I had done lots of things to personal development. Really, really fascinated me. So I had begun my journey. When my father died, as I say, it was the lowest point of my life, and I could not get why. Why did my father have to die, and where was God? And, how do you make sense of this? And oh God, I did so much searching and asking people who had almost taken their own lives and who had tried it and failed. And, what were you thinking about? Where was your mind? And today I work with suicidal people all the time, and suicide doesn't frighten me the way it might worry or frighten other people. How I came to terms with it was that I could either focus on, it probably took, my father drowned himself. He went into a river. So it probably took my father maybe 20 minutes or less to do that. So he lived for 72 years. So where am I putting my focus? Between the stimulus and the response, there is a gap. Herein lies our freedom. Where am I putting my focus? On the last 10 minutes of his life, or on all the other gifts that he gave me? And what I teach people today, when I work with my clients, when I do my online work, this is one of the most powerful healing moments that I can give a client when they're grieving, when they're grieving loss, and there are many forms of grief, the end of a relationship, the end of a marriage, these are all grieving moments. The loss of freedom during COVID, that's a grieving process. So when I think about love, and this is what I'll ask my clients, I'll say, so they're maybe grieving the death of a parent, and I'll say, so there they are, they're sitting opposite me and we're doing the work, and I'll say, where's your wife? And they will say, well, she's at home. Do you love her? Yeah. You love her? Yeah, I love her very deeply. And I'll say, well, she's not here. So let's just clarify this. Is love about physical proximity? And of course, they always answer no. So then I'm ready to go to the next step with them. So your father died 20 years ago. Is his love about physical proximity? And they will say no. And I will say, what if love is actually a gift? That everybody dies. We're all going to die. Everybody dies. That's the law. So what if people come into our lives and they bring us a gift? And I want you, if you can imagine that gift that your father gave you. And I, Pete, can absolutely feel, I have a love inside of me that my father gave me that no one or no thing can ever take away. No one can ever take that away. And in fact, it grows, because it's like love is, like a plant. It grows. The more I feed it, the more it grows. So I can safely say that if my father hadn't died back then, we wouldn't be having this conversation. We would not be on this podcast. So what if there is a sacred synchronicity to life? When you get this, Pete, you truly can be free. This is what I say. When you get that there is a sacred synchronicity, that if the ticket came, so what? There's a reason for the ticket. Okay. I tell a story. Have you ever heard the story of the Chinese farmer?
I don't think so.
Okay, I'll tell you this. It's a very quick story, but it's a very powerful one. Once upon a time, there was a Chinese farmer, and he had a horse, and the horse ran away. And the neighbors came and said, that's too bad. And the Chinese farmer said, maybe. So the next day, the horse came back, and it brought with it 7 wild horses. And the neighbors came and said, that's so good. And the farmer said, maybe. So the next day, his son got up on one of the horses, and the horse threw him, and he broke his leg. And the neighbors came and said, that's so bad. And the farmer said, maybe. Well, the next day, the conscription officers came to the village to take the young men away, but they didn't take the son because his leg was broken. So the moral of the story is that such are the intricacies of our lives that when they're woven together, it's impossible to say what's bad and what's good. So what if it's just all good, because it's all just happening? So do I wish my father hadn't died that way? Of course I do. This year, it's 21 years this year. And this year I went to the bridge at Newcastle where it happened. And I felt really, really sad. I felt the loss of all the things that we didn't get to experience. And I allowed myself to keep company with those feelings. And then I released them. You know, the idea is not to feel. The idea is to keep company. They're just feelings, and keep company with them. Don't be afraid of them. Feel them, and then let them be here and let them go. And I felt the sadness. I felt the missingness of my dad. And then I let it go. And I knew that every single step brought me to this moment, and I made peace with it. And when I make peace with it, I know I've helped a lot of people. I've done a lot of work, and I've helped a lot of people. And I could not have helped those people if it hadn't been for my father. And so my father, we all carry a message. You know, I remember way back in the day, you know, my father used alcohol towards the end of his life. He was, you know, his coping skill was overuse of alcohol. And I was trying to get him sober, and I was trying to do all kinds of things. And I actually went into 12-step recovery myself, into Al-Anon, which is for family and friends. People have heard of AA, Alcoholics Anonymous. And I was trying to get my dad to go to Alcoholics Anonymous, which is a whole book, and it's a story, and it's a chapter in a book in itself. But in the end, I got into Al-Anon, and I was there for 10 years. It categorically saved my life. If for no other reason than it gave me the serenity prayer. You know, and you don't have to be religious. So you certainly, you know, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. The courage to change the things I can. And the wisdom to know the difference. I can't change the fact that my father took his own life and went into a river 21 years ago. But I can change my response to it. Gradually, you know, I can feel the pain, I can release the pain. And I feel the love. He gave me a beautiful gift. You know, I felt loved by my father, and I still feel that feeling today. So which would serve me better? If I honor my father's life, I honor the gift of love he gave me by living mine in a better way. And this, I have helped so many people release and let go of guilt and shame. You know, I talk about the private pain and the public shame of suicide. I was listening recently, I heard recently of someone who died, a public figure who died. And I heard on the grapevine that he had actually taken his own life. And I got cross. You know, we must talk about suicide. If we are to change it as an option, we must talk about it. And that's why I talk about it. I felt so ashamed for so long. I felt I had failed my father. I felt like we weren't enough to keep him here. You know, all these things. And today, because I've been through all that, this is what I say to my clients, you know, when I'm doing my promotional stuff and everything, and I'll say this, I'd say, I fast track you. And I know how to fast track you because I can help you to see it differently. Perception is what drives us. It's not what we do, it's how we do what we do. And how we do what we do is based on our perception of the world. And our perception of the world is based on what we saw, what we learned, what we come into. So what are you believing to be true that isn't actually true? And beliefs can be changed. And I know how to do that. And that's what I do with the people who come to me. It's very, very powerful work. I'm very, very privileged and honored to be able to do it. I take tough clients. I'm not afraid of them. Because you know why? I was my own toughest client. I was the toughest one of them all. I resisted and resisted and fought it. And but that's what makes me good, because no matter what you'd say, you don't impress me, you don't scare me, you don't frighten me. You know, the angry people don't frighten me anymore. My father used to get angry and scared the Jesus out of me. Doesn't frighten me anymore now, because I know that anger is just dressed up fear. I mean, you know, we're recording this in March 22. Like, I would love to get the hold of Putin. I'd love to see how is he doing this? What is he believing? What's his perception of the world that he believes he's right. Hitler thought he was right. People think they're right. They don't think I'm wrong. People believe what they're doing is the best thing for them at that moment. So what is that belief based on? And can we change it? You know, like, you remember, I know, Pete, you remember when you believed in Santa? I mean, I saw Santa. I was that good, you know? Like, you know, I remember him coming to my bedroom, you know, and I mean, I've slept in my granny's, and it was a 2-story house, but Santa was outside the window. And I saw him, I saw the sleigh, I saw the whole thing. I believed in Santa. And then I remember my parents owned a furniture shop and they sold toys. And Santa used to come to the Sleeve Donard Hotel in Newcastle, and they got the contract to wrap the presents for Santa. And I remember, it was so funny. I remember my father was also a taxi man. He used to drive a taxi, and he drove the staff home out of the Sleeve. So every Christmas, and we were very poor, but every Christmas we would get to go to the Sleeve Donald Hotel on Christmas Day, and Santa would come. And I remember being so excited to see Santa, and I was like 6. No, I wasn't. I was about 8 at that stage. And I remember Santa giving me this parcel. I thought, wow, what's this? And I opened it up. And here was this doll. And it was exactly the same doll as we had in the shop. And I remember, because it was a wee black doll, and it had wee earrings and all, and it was just gorgeous. But you didn't very often see black dolls. So the coincidence was too much. So then you start to change your beliefs. So my question is, what are we believing in any given moment? And does that belief serve us? And if it serves us, well and good. But if it's not serving us, then let's pick a better belief.
As you were talking about your father there, I couldn't help but almost see a bit of a parallel with the parking ticket.
Oh, I love it. I'm really interested. Tell me more, Pete. I have no clue what the connection is.
Well, it's, you talked about with your father, and it's the lack of control, it's the injustice, you know, and you mentioned that with your clients. And here too with the parking tickets, like, I had a ticket, I'm sure I did everything I could, or I'm sure I had it and all the rest. I just don't have the proof, or, you know, it's the injustice of it. You just,
how interesting. How interesting. That's beautiful. That's so beautiful, Pete, because it actually speaks to my work. So this is the beauty of it, because what we believe to be true is true for us. So we operate out of our own belief system, and it's unique. You know, I live in the kingdom of Deirdre, and you live in the kingdom of Pete, and you are sovereign over your kingdom, and you have rules that you live by, and I live in mine. And the interesting thing is that because I'm in the kingdom, I can't see it. So you could clearly see, you know, that's what I do as my job. When the client comes to me, when they come to me and they present themselves, and my job is to find out, A, what are they believing? You know, and how is it driving their lives? And do they need better beliefs? So it's like we're imprinted. So life, you know, imprints this belief system on us. And, you know, I actually had that kind of imprint before my father died, because, you know, my parents wanted the best for me. So, like, we lived above the shop, and I had, you know, my mother wanted to be educated, and she was the eldest of 10 and she couldn't afford it. So she didn't get educated. So when I passed 11 plus, and they thought, here we go, and they sent me to boarding school to give me the best chance. And that was a whole other story, you know, nuns and all kinds of things, and pretty strict stuff. And I was lonely. Imagine, you know, you'd never dream, you know, sending an 11-year-old away, you know, and I was sent away, but with all the best intentions. So, you know, no pressure, you know, my parents wanted the best for me, and they were sacrificing so much for me. So I had to do well. So of course I didn't do well enough. So I studied and studied, but I could only do what I could do. And, you know, like I say, today I have an honours degree, but it was hardly any use to me, because I still felt like a failure, because the belief system had been installed way back in the day, because we're actually carrying their belief system. So if you want to find out what you believe to be true, go back and get the story. And this is when I ask my clients as well. I say, what's your dad's story? What's your mum's story? Because that, to put you into context, you know, like, you know, I was listening to the radio the other day, and there was a guy on talking about IVF, in vitro fertilization, and they were saying, you know, they had mortgaged the house for the 3rd time, and then here came the twins, a boy and a girl, And, you know, I was thinking like, that would be some house to be born into. That'd be some setup to go into. You know, compare that to your number 9 of 12, and your mother's a baby making machine, and your father is, you know, all he can do is work. So he comes home exhausted, tired, and angry, and that's your manger. You know, that's where what you're born into. So I was already, you know, set up. My life had already set me up to have a sense of failure. So no matter what I did, I was never good enough. I could never, you know. So Daddy's death, even though I was, you know, 40 odd or whatever, that actually compounded what I already believed to be true. So it's interesting then that here I am in Deirdre land, but you can see what's going on in Deirdre land. And then, but the difference is that when you tell me that, then now I'm aware of it. So now I have a choice. We come back to Viktor Frankl, between the stimulus and the response. I have a choice in how I, you know, what I do with that information. Do I act on it? Do I deny it? Do I push it away? What do I do with it? So that's where your freedom comes. But freedom is actually a responsibility. You know, people think freedom is I can do anything I want, whenever I want, however I want, with whoever I want, wherever I want, but that's not what real freedom is.
It's so interesting, isn't it? It's just going back a bit. I mean, you talked about alcohol and food, and, you know, too much food, too little food. That was all. You passed a comment saying that was all lack-based. You know, looking back now, I think it was lack-based, the word you used. Looking back and in hindsight, what do you think it was?
They are coping skills. You know, I've worked with a lot of people who are, inverted commas, addicted. And, you know, where does the addiction go when, you know, when we deal with the source of the problem, very often the coping skill, which is the alcohol, the food, the scrolling, when we deal with the root of the problem, the source of the issue, then the addiction dissipates. Like I say, I mean, I've been a Weight Watcher. I've run 3 marathons. I've done a lot of good things. You know, I've climbed Kilimanjaro. You know, I remember being at Weight Watchers and so excited because I was actually not eating and getting to the point where, you know, target weight, where they give you the target weight, and I reached the target weight and I felt so good about reaching the target weight. I thought, now I can go lower, you know, and I was 9 stone. And now I remember thinking, if I could just have 8:13, even if it was 8:13, it's still 8. There's an 8 in my weight. And that was when the alarm bell went off. And I thought, no, this is dangerous. If I start doing this, so I stopped. But I hadn't, I certainly had not mastered food at that time. But it looked like I was never overweight. I looked like I had it sorted, but I didn't. But today I have a much, much better. It has taken a long time to unearth the deeply imprinted programs. But remember, I went to boarding school. So they used food all the time. We were rewarded with food. They controlled our food. They told us when to eat. They told us what to eat. They told us how to eat. I have all kinds of little idiosyncrasies today that my nieces and nephews laugh at. You know, I don't bite food. I cut food. You know, I would never bite into a piece of bread. I would always cut it because I was trained as bad manners to bite, and all kinds of silly wee things that became my norm. And I mean, anybody who's been to boarding schools knows exactly what I'm talking about. So it has taken me, you know, most of my life to undo that one. I'm still working on it. I'm still working on, you know, putting food where it belongs. Food is fuel. Food is fuel. Food is not a reward. You know, food doesn't love you. You know, I love chocolate. No. Does chocolate love you? No, I don't think so. You know, you don't love chocolate. You don't love food. You love people. You like to eat chocolate. That's a very different thing, because there's a stop and a start to that. I like to eat chocolate. It doesn't mean I have to eat all the chocolate that's in the roses tin at Christmas. But there are a whole lot of aspects to that. But it has taken me a long time to get to, but I'm happy to say I'm there, pretty much. I've come such a long way. I mean, my program was not to eat. I mean, I watched my mother Unislim, you know, and not eating and depriving herself. And she was fasting when nobody was fasting. My mother didn't eat from Sunday to Tuesday. And I watched that. So what do we download as a belief? You know, an unconscious belief that if I don't eat, I will be loved by my mother. You know, the unconscious mind is not logical. The unconscious mind is known as the intelligent idiot. It's intelligent because it wants to keep you safe. And it's an idiot because it doesn't know that that is not a healthy belief to have. So my work unearths those beliefs and really gets to the root of them, and finding out, what are we believing to be true in any given moment? And does the belief serve us, and can we change it? And when we change, you know, when you change the way you look at things, you know, the way you look changes, you know. So I often use the example, you know, when people come here to my house, and before we recorded, I was showing you the beautiful view from my room here, and I'm looking out onto the moors, and people are always gobsmacked when they come in. You know, they just stand, and I have floor to ceiling glass, and they're looking at the mountains, and it's really interesting. You know, like the farmer will come in and he'll look at the whole vista and he'll say, there's some cattle, that's good cattle that you have in that field there. Okay. And then, you know, the hill walker will come in and say, do you go up the mountains? Have you ever been to the top of Donard? And then the gardener will come in and say, I love that wee water feature you have there. The American will come in and look and go, oh my God, it's so green. How do you get to be so green? So we don't see the world. We perceive the world through the lens of our previous experiences. I always remember the vegetarian who came in. Now, the view from my kitchen is breathtaking. And the vegetarian came in and said, is that a pig farm? And she was right. It is. There's a pig farm in view. And I said, yeah. And she said, it must be awful for you living here. And I remember the penny just really, like, there it is. There it is. She missed everything else because she was focusing on the pig farm. So we don't see the world, we perceive the world. And what the lens through which we look at the world is based actually on a thing called, a part of us that's called the reticular activating system. It's called the RAS for short. And it's a filter system because there's so much to see that you would just be an overwhelm. So we need our filter system. So say, for example, at the minute I'm about to change my car, right? And I've been looking at cars and I want to get a Land Rover Evoque. I fancy I've done everything. I've been going around driving, sitting in this, sitting in that, sitting in the other. And I thought, now this is what I want to get. I want to get an Evoque. Well, you would think that somebody had opened a tin of Evoques at the bottom of the road. Every car that goes by is an Evoque. Why is that? There aren't any more Evoques in the world, but all I can see are Evoques. Why? Because that's where I'm putting my focus. So I keep seeing them. Say, there's one there, there's one there, there's one there. My sister says, would you stop that? I said, but look, there it is. There's another Evoque. Look. There aren't any more Evoques in the world, but the lens through which I'm looking at the world. So this is the beauty of this work, that when you know this stuff, you can't not know it. You can't unknow it. So when you start to learn this, which is my passion, I want people, everybody to know this work, you know. And when you start to know this, then you will start to look at the world from a different perspective. You'll see it for what it is a lot of the time. And you'll see it for what it isn't a lot of the time too. And that's what gives you your power. And that's where your freedom is. And that's why I say your freedom is my promise. You know, if you do it, if you do as I say, if you do what I show you, if you implement what I show you, the quality of your life will improve. But you've got to do it. And that's where, when the ticket comes in and you have to go, yeah. Does that make sense?
No, it does make sense indeed, you know. Earlier on, you mentioned there, you know, sort of, you said pain creates purpose. I'm just wondering, is that normal, and is it healthy?
Well, I wouldn't. Yeah, okay, so you're paraphrasing that pain creates purpose. My tagline used to be way back in the very beginning. That reminds me, from pain to power takes practice. From pain to power takes practice. And I suppose power could be, you know, you could say from pain to purpose, it takes practice. It seems to be that pretty much our biggest life lessons come from pain. I don't know why, but I certainly do know this, that no one comes and knocking on my door just for the hell of it. They don't call, let's go to Deirdre for the fun of it. No. It's like, there's nowhere left. I've done everything. Oh God, now I have to go and see your woman. You know, we resist our emotions. We're so afraid of them. And this is what my work is about. You know, this is what I say. We are emotional dinosaurs, you know, governed by medieval systems with access to galactic information. Excuse me. And we can't cope. We can't cope with this because we haven't dealt with how to handle emotions. You know, the buzzword is emotional intelligence. You know, your IQ and your EQ, you know, the IQ, I got the 11 plus with an IQ, but that's not, you know, that's not the yardstick or the meter stick that I want to measure my life by. What I want to measure my life by is the EQ. You know, my father was successful. He was loved. He was loving. But he had emotional pains and hurts from the past that he did not know how to deal with. So in the end, he went with the only option left to him and took his own life. You know? So what I want for me first, and it has to be for me first, you always, you know, you've heard the classic example of when the if you're on a plane, you put the oxygen mask on you first before you put it on your child. We must take care of ourselves. So I go first, and now I get to help others. Now, it doesn't mean I go first, and when I'm done, then I get to help others. It's I just go first, and I'm continuously evolving. Continuously evolving. One of the life-changing moments, and you literally can have a life-changing moment. You can have an aha moment that changes the direction of your life. And this happened to me. I have been dogged by perfectionism. And perfectionism, I know today, is the lowest form of living, because you can never get there. So I could never do anything. I was afraid to make a mistake. I was afraid to do it wrong. It was never good enough. So it held me back. But when I discovered the beauty of evolution, and if you think about it, Pete, like if you think about, we were way back, there was the Big Bang, and then we were, one cell, then two cells, then four cells, then we were an amoeba, then we came out of the, came out of the sea, then we came onto the land, then we went along, then we stood up straight, then we stayed in the one place and we became farmers, then we stayed, became industrial revolution, and we became, and well, what would make you think for 1 minute that it stops with you? Okay, we did all that, we're going along. Oh, Pete, no more. Deirdre, no more. That's it. That's bullshit. So when you understand that, it's not enough to understand it, when you live by it, when you implement that belief system, that I'm always evolving. It's like a relay. My father handed me a baton. He did the best he could with what he had. He gave me the baton, and I've got it at the minute. And then, my niece Kate is here working with me today. I'm handing it on to her, and she's fired. You talk about fire in the belly. She's now fired up. She's wakened up, and now she's ready to go out. And I'm ready to, cool the jets a wee bit. Let's cruise here. I'm not, let me cruise and let. So when you're constantly when we as a species are evolving, and we have a lot of evolving to do. And on one level, we're so old, we started the Big Bang. And on another level, we have never in the history of our story, our human story, have we ever been on the internet together. We've never been so one. There's no getting away from it. Look at the COVID experience. It was like we were a big village. Everybody was having the same experience. Everybody was having the experience of COVID. Everybody was talking to everybody else about the experience of COVID. We could see what was happening in Australia. We could see in a second, you turn it on, see it live. Like we've never lived in these times. So there's another freedom in that. Just, it is what it is. Let's do what we're doing now, and let's see what's coming next and what's coming after that. And if I am evolving as my best self, let me do the best with what I can today. And that's all I can do. Evolve as my best self. Let me show up. When I say my best self, I mean, let me do the best I can. And sometimes it's better than others. Sometimes it's, eat your body weight. And no, I actually haven't done that in a long time, but, sometimes you say, okay, right, I'm going to, eat a load of stuff, it's Christmas and I'm going to stuff myself or whatever. Well, the next day you get up and you start again, because we're evolving. And when I live like that, when I live by those principles, the quality of my life is good. Yeah.
What are you capable of?
What came into my head was anything. That's the first word that came in. I love that question, Pete. Thank you for asking that. Because the mind is like, if we Google the mind is our servant, and the mind will give us an answer. So I would never ask myself that question. So when you ask it, my mind seeks out and says, here we go. There's the answer. Anything. Beautiful.
Well, tell me this, what are you great at and what are you terrible at?
What am I terrible at? My mind immediately goes to the gym. You know, I'm a CrossFit athlete, and I'm not very good at back squats, but I'm getting better at them. My goal is to do a pull-up without the bands. I want to pull my own body weight up. I have, what I'm great at is I'm very good at loving people. I have a very big heart. And I feel my heart big often when I get to help, when I get to be a non-judgmental presence for someone for maybe the first time in their life. And that truly is my gift. That it really doesn't matter what you've done. I don't care. It really doesn't interest me. I've worked with thousands of people, and I've worked with people who've had very, very, very difficult lives. I've worked with people I've worked with criminals, criminals in the traditional sense. I don't see them as criminals at all. But it's just to, put it into context. I've worked with all kinds of people, and I have a huge capacity for love. And it's so interesting. So you know what I'm terrible at? Loving myself sometimes. Sometimes I'm very terrible at it.
That's what I was going to ask. I mean, do you like yourself? Do you love yourself?
I like myself. Do I love myself? I love myself is not really very important. So I wouldn't say I love myself, but I do love my humanity. I love my place in humanity. I love what I've been given to do. I've been tortured a lot of my life, that I wasn't pretty enough, I wasn't smart enough, I wasn't good enough, I just wasn't enough. So I spent a lot of time there. So it's almost too big a task to ask me to love myself. But I do love what I represent, which is, the possibility for humanity. I like that I represent that, I've done a lot of work with very, very, very troubled people who have been, I do lots of lovely, I have an online course. I have I have my mindset mastery course, which is an introduction to my work, and it's lovely. It's such a lovely experience for people to, it's like stepping into Disneyland. I remember one time, first time I went to Disney. I don't know. Have you ever been to Disneyland? Did you do It's a Small, Small World?
Don't think so, actually. No.
The next time you go, Pete, you have to take your children there, or the little Pete. You take the wee boy, and you go into this, and it's all dolls from all nationalities of the world, and they're singing, and you're in like a wee boat thing, and you're just going through, and they're all singing "It's a Small, Small World," and it absolutely blew me away. And that's what that's my fundamental core belief, that we're all beautiful. We're all the expression of life. And the mindset mastery course is kind of like that. It's like, come here till you see this, and then people come in, and you go, what do you see? Look, this is who you are. This is who you are. This is who you're not. And they go, oh my God, this is so exciting. This is so amazing. Okay, so there's the mindset mastery, and that's where, and then there's my signature course, which is the stress solution system, and it goes deeper. People who want to go to, deeper. And then I do my one-on-one clients, who, some people who have huge secrets and guilts and things that are holding them back. And, I'm a godsend to them, because if they get here, the biggest thing is to get them here. That's what I say to my clients when they come through the door, when they answer, my phone. I'll say, good man, good woman, that's the hardest thing you'll ever have to do. That bit's over. You'll never have to do that again. And I know that because I resisted it so much. So I like who I am. I like the kind of person I am. If I sat down beside myself on a plane, I would probably say, I wish she would shut up. She talks too much. But that's what my mother said before my mom died a few years ago. And she said, our Deirdre's finally getting paid for what she does best. Talking. I can still be very tough on myself. It's tough. It's on one level, it's a challenge when you get to, like I say, I'll be 66, and you have to accept things of that, about your body, or those things can be tough to accept. Especially when you realize, have you ever had this experience? Maybe men don't have it, I don't know. But when you look back and you think, oh my God, I thought I was fat back then, and I wasn't. And all that time I wasted thinking I was flipping fat. And you look at these photographs and or whatever. And now I get to this point and I think, oh my God, I used to think I was old when I was 50. And I remember being depressed on my 50th birthday. They brought out the cake and the candles, and I saw it and I thought, oh my God, what? Oh. And now, if I was 50, I think I was a young thing, So what I do is I have to reverse engineer it and think, Deirdre, imagine when you're 99, 65 will be young. So I don't know if that gives you a sense of where I am at on the self-love front, Pete.
What's coming up for me is it is all perspective, right? It's like, it used to be okay to ride around in the car with no seatbelts, kids in the passenger seats, kids in the boots, whatever just to get from A to B. Now that's not cool. It used
Smoking.
to be yeah, smoking and God knows what. You know, there's so many things, and I do look back at, you know, people sometimes do the best that they think. They're convinced that that's the right thing. You know,
Absolutely.
the boarding school. It's like, you know, God, she's so lucky she got to go, and we made sacrifices, or we did what we did. And you kind of, in hindsight, you go, that's the worst thing you could do. But that's now with hindsight, that's now with reflection, and you know, how many things in our lives do we, you know, other people convinced that, you know, children should be seen and not heard. You know, if I hit them harder, then that will, you know, make them a better person, all these things. But that was their truth, and their intentions were good, but unfortunately it was just the actual application was off, you know. So just reflecting there as you spoke, I don't know, does that resonate with you?
Absolutely. It brings to mind a memory. One time I was working on a client in there's a place called Habilitat in Hawaii, and it's America's leading drugs and alcohol rehabilitation unit. And I used to go there with a group of colleagues, and so it was really powerful work. So we were the program, the Habilitat program, runs for 3 years, and so you're not going to dry out for a month. You know, this is life changing, life transformative, deeply committed personal program, which is so powerful. So we used to go and volunteer, and you know, it helped us to understand how the mind worked. And I always remember this man, very quietly spoken native Hawaiian man, and he was talking about his daughter and how much he loved his daughter. And in the process of the work of the session, I don't even know how he did, but he revealed that he actually beat her every day. Now, he loved his daughter dearly, but this was his love. His love was to beat her every day, to make sure that, you know, that she would be wary enough that she would never do anything wrong. But of course, when we went deeper, he was beaten every day. So, you know, we just do what we, you know, so again, it's, you know, that was his right. That, when I say right, that RIGHT, that was his, you know, his right for him. In his mind, that was right. So, but then when I was able to go back and, you know, help him to change the perspective of why his father had beaten him, and then he suddenly could see what he had done, and he could release that. And you know, I talk about, you know, for years I worked for 20 years with my father in the family business, and I sold furniture, believe it or not. I sold carpet and furniture, tables and chairs. And now I rearrange the furniture in people's mind. And that's what it is. It's the same stuff, and we just put it in different places. And when we put food back in the fridge and put it with the fuel, you know, and when we put, you know, other coping skills, you know, I've worked with Olympic athletes, you know, top of the tree, you know, but still what was causing the success for in the Olympics was actually, you know, causing the pain in their personal life. So when we look at it and see how are they doing it, not why are they doing it, but how is this person successfully producing this result that they don't want? Because nobody is a failure. There are no failures. We're all successfully producing a result. Some of the results we want, some of them we don't. So when we take the judgment out of it and just look at it with curiosity, it's interesting. You know, it's really interesting. Then we are in a more empowered position to help someone. If I have a non-judgmental attitude, And when someone tells me something really pretty grim, I have to park that. Just park my attitude over there and get on with, because this is what I say, you know, the person's in the chair. I talk about them being in the chair. They're in the chair because they want change. If they're still out there doing it, well, that's a different thing, because they're not invested in change. But if someone comes to me and says, you know what, I did something really, really wrong, they're ready for change. And if you operate from the principle that people were always doing the best they could with what they have, people are always doing the best they can with what they have, it certainly serves them better, but you are of more service. You know, how did Nelson Mandela do it? 25 years and these people, you know, giving him a hard time. How did he do it? It was what he was doing in his mind. How did Viktor Frankl change? You know, what he was doing. How did he change the world? And he has helped change the world. You know, his book, Man's Search for Meaning, is it's such a powerful book. So what he did was he changed the world with his attitude. And that's where we start. You know, we can think globally or think locally. Globally, we can pretty much go into overwhelm. But, you know, how many times you have to pull this, rein it back in. Oh my God, COVID. Oh my God, what's going to happen? What's going to happen in the world? No. What can I do? Oh, we've got World War III. What's Putin doing? Maybe I can be kinder today to the person and let them out in the traffic, or pay something forward for somebody. It's the implementing it. You know, we have 3 brains. The first brain is the neocortex. And, you know, that's what we're listening to each other now with the neocortex. We're going, what? You're listening to going, what is, okay. So you're processing it. And then we have the next brain is the limbic brain. And the limbic brain is where you hear something that I say, or a client hears something that I say, and they go out tomorrow and they go, okay, I am going to practice something different. I am going to let that person out in the traffic in front of me, even though they're trying to cut me up. I am going to let that person out in front of me. So then you have a visceral experience of it. You go, that actually felt good. So it went from the learning brain, from the neocortex, to the limbic brain. And you go, okay, now I know what it feels like to let somebody out in traffic. But that's not enough, because the third brain is the unconscious. Okay. We have to do it over and over again, so that it becomes, so that we create what's called new neural pathways. We create these neural pathways. So doing it once is not enough. The third brain is called the cerebellum, or the unconscious. And when it goes in there, now it's a habit. So that's why it's not enough to do the thing once. You've got to know about it. Step 1 is aware. You go, oh, okay, I can let somebody out in traffic and I won't die. I'll not be an idiot. I'll not be the weak person. I'll not be the fool. No, you'll actually be the clever person, because you're actually taking charge of your own emotions. Okay. So then you do it, and then you go, okay, I can do this over and over again. And then repetition is, you know, as they say, the mother of all skills. So ask me anything, Pete. Is there anything you want to ask me? You're thinking, no, I wonder what you answer this one. Hit me with it. Or is there, maybe there's not.
No, there's always, I mean, it's just interesting in itself. You know, you mentioned earlier on about asking yourself hard questions. What are those hard questions?
The hard question is, can I like myself when I've just got a ticket? The question is, can I forgive myself? The question is, can I be at peace with myself when life is not going my way? You know, when it's all going tickety-boo, that's hunky-dory. But the hard question is, can I do the hard thing? And what I mean by that is, can I do the thing I'm not familiar with? Because this is what I say to my clients, this is what I have on my own post-it notes. Change is just unfamiliar. It's okay to change, because by its very nature, change has to be unfamiliar, otherwise it's not change. So can I do the hard thing? Can I get up in the morning and go to the gym when I don't feel like it? Because I have a vision of what I want my life to look like, where I want my life to go, how healthy I want to be. I want to live for a long time. So if I want to live for a long time, I honor my body by moving it. Can I get into the ice bath? That is a hard question. Can I do the hard thing? I have an ice bath. I'm very blessed. My bedroom has a balcony. Mm-hmm. So I put the ice bath on the balcony, and I filled it with, now there's no ice in it, but I was going to say room temperature, but it's outside room temperature. It's outside temperature. So in the morning, part of my practice is to get into the cold water. And that's a hard thing to do. But I asked the hard question, can you do that, Deirdre? Do the hard thing. So, because when you do the hard thing, then it makes the hard things easier. So the hard question is, how long will I live? You know, I've had the cancer experience, and cancer is a big one to deal with. So when my physical health is challenged, the hard question is, is that cancer? You know, so that's a hard question to overcome. You know, when my mind asks the hard question and says, oh my God, is that cancer? And I go, no, that's just a hard question. Stop asking that. It's the unconscious mind, the intelligent idiot trying to keep me safe, you know, setting off the alarm system, going, hold on, alert, alert, alert. And you go, no, it's okay. You know, when my alarm system went off lots and lots and lots when I was a child. So it was very susceptible to going off. You know, one of those pain in the ass smoke alarms that keep going off, right? Well, my alarm system kept going off because I had been frightened, traumatized, scared by, you know, people, places, and things. So it's kind of like, you know, when you know, you're in the kitchen and the smoke alarm goes off, and the alarm goes off, and you're like, you get the tea towel, and because the alarm, there's nothing wrong with the alarm. The alarm is just doing what the alarm does. The alarm is doing its job, but it doesn't know that you're only making toast. It thinks the house is on fire. So when my personal alarm goes off, and it goes off less and less and less, you know, but it still can go when a ticket comes. I still get the opportunity to evolve a wee bit more.
Yeah.
One of the hardest questions for me was, am I lovable? You know, the underlying belief below it was that I wasn't. We, you know, as a child, we download these beliefs, and I believed that I wasn't, you know, if you're a good girl, and I wasn't a good girl. You know, I was, you know, I had failed. You know, I didn't get high enough grades in my exam. I had to repeat them. I wasn't a star pupil. You know, I was married to a really nice man for 7 years, and the marriage ended, and, you know, I have no children. So I have all the classic failures. So I had to get very good at asking hard questions. Are you okay, Deirdre? Even though you haven't ticked, there are a lot of boxes you haven't ticked. So I got good at asking hard questions, and I had to get good at answering them in a way that served me. You'd nearly think I had it all cracked the way I'm talking. You really would.
I mean, being aware enough just to ask yourself the question is huge in itself. It's huge.
That's my mission, Pete, is to help people to get aware. Aware is step one. And, you know, I often remember when, you know, when my father was in the throes of, you know, overusing alcohol, and my life was so unmanageable. I loved him, and to watch someone, you know, self-destruct, someone you love self-destruct in front of you is pretty damned hard. And I remember one time there was when I worked in the shop, and there was a sales rep. God, funny, we used to call them travelers way back in the day. And but he was a sales rep, and he was like a beacon in the midst of the turmoil, because this man was, you know, he was in 12-step recovery, he was in AA, and he knew the pain. And the biggest part about this is that you just feel so totally alone. And he used to call, and, you know, I remember he sold furniture. He came from Monaghan, and he's the home of furniture in Ireland. And I used to, he had a show van, and you'd get up into this show van, and it was a lifeline to me to talk about what was really going on in my life, and the pain and the hurt. And I couldn't talk to anybody, because you can't break the no talk rule. You cannot break the no talk rule. And that's what kills people. And I was a fully paid up family member. I was loyal, and I couldn't break the no talk rule. So if I talked to anyone about my father, it was shame, it was guilty. My father was so good, they were so good to us. And how could I talk about it? But I had to. So he helped me talk a little about it. And I always remember him saying to me, one time my father went to an AA meeting, and I was as high as if I was on heroin. I thought, this is it. We've sussed it. It's brilliant. And I couldn't wait to tell him. He went to an AA meeting. And then he went drinking again. And I remember this sales rep coming around me, climbing up into the van, and I just cried. Actually, it was a bus. I remember this one particular time, they used to get these big buses and convert them, take out the seats and put in all the furniture, and drive the bus all around Ireland and do their sales. And I was crying. I couldn't contain it. I just cried and cried. And I said, I can't believe it. And he said, Deirdre, he'll not be able to sit on the stool as easy. And I took great solace in that, And that was the truth. He couldn't, on some level, alcohol was solving the situation. But as my father got more in touch with what the real problem was, the closer he got to the fire, the less the alcohol worked. And that was true. Now, for many people, they change direction and the quality of their life improves. My father's journey was a different one. But it is true that once you become aware, there is no going back. And my passion is that, I imagine a bridge and we're on the bridge and I'm on this side of the bridge and I'm calling people, look, honestly, come over. Come on over. And the more people we can get on this side of the bridge, the more it will encourage others to walk across the bridge too.
To share and to offer that to others it's very wise, And I mean that positively and respectfully, to be able to do that.
What a gift.
Absolutely.
And, every single step brought me to today. And here we are today. And
is the parking ticket a gift?
The parking ticket's the greatest gift. I'll write a check for 60 quid, send it to them and get over it.
Oh, it's wonderful.
Beautiful.
What's a guilty pleasure for you, Deirdre, out of interest?
I love... So this is my idea. Currently, a guilty pleasure used to be traveling. Well, it wasn't a guilty pleasure. It was what I used to do, and I can't do it at the minute. But a guilty pleasure for me is lighting the fire on a Friday evening, pulling up the settee, fish and chips. I'm vegetarian, well, pescatarian, so I don't eat meat. So fish supper out of docks. Well, there are 2 or 3 chippies in Newcastle that I love. I get a children's portion, and I get with salt and vinegar, and I light the fire. I pull the settee up. I have a tonic. I love tonic. I used to drink gin and tonic. I don't drink alcohol at all now. For today, I might take one this evening, don't know. But actually, I don't actually enjoy alcohol anymore. And but I do love the taste of tonic. So I'll have a fish supper, children's portion, tonic, some green and black salted caramel chocolate, and the Late Late Show.
Wow. My mouth is watering here as you're describing.
You see, that's how the mind works. The mind doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's made up. So it went, oh, like salivation. That's cool. Yeah. So yeah, that's one of my guilty pleasures.
It's a great way to be.
Yeah.
So tell us, if you were then to try and describe your fire in your belly in 1 or 2 words, what would they be? What is the fire in my belly in 1 or 2 words? To show people that there is another way. To be the proof. To be the proof for people that there is another way. Yeah. It's beautiful. So tell us, where can people find out more about you, hunt you down, track you down, stalk you, follow you, all these?
Well, It's dead easy because it's deirdremaguire.com and it's DeirdreMaguire, deirdremaguire.com. I'm Deirdre.Maguire on Instagram. If you go to deirdremaguire.com and sign up, actually, if you sign up with your email, we have a lovely freebie that we give people that really helps them. It's a tool that you can use every day. I'm in the usual places, Instagram, Facebook. Yeah.
All the usual.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And is there a final message you'd like to leave with our listeners today?
I would just say, if there is someone, if you're out there and you're listening to this and your life is being driven by some wee secret, and that you feel that there's no way that you could ever tell anybody. There is a way to release that without ever telling anybody. I do this all the time. And we release the secret. That's the linchpin. It's the linchpin that's driving your life. It colors everything you do. And it can be released without anyone ever knowing. And then you can be free. To live the life you truly want. I'll tell you this very quickly one. This is one that I tell clients. Imagine, Pete, you and I both die. And stories are always good. This is how the mind works. So you and I both die, Pete, and we go to heaven, and there's Jesus at the gate. And he says, come on in, Deirdre, come on in, Pete. And there's the party. This is great. There's chocolate fountains. There's fish and chip shops everywhere. It's all. And Jesus says, come on in. Great, good, good. Now, the only thing is, don't open that door. You see that door over there? Don't open that door. So, okay, whatever. And there we are, we're partying away and everything's great. And then you say to me, wonder why he said not to open the door. And I don't know. Well, and then you say, well, we're actually in heaven. We figure it out. We're in heaven, so we can't get thrown out. So actually we can go and open the door. So you say, right, I'm way over there. So the two of us head over and you open the door. And you look at it, and it's beach ball, barbecues, bikinis. It's amazing, absolutely amazing. And just by that, Jesus comes past, and you say to him, "Hey, Jesus, why did you tell us not to open the door?" And he says, "Because that is the life I had planned for you, and you missed it." When I was diagnosed with cancer, I was 56. And it wasn't a look on the surgeon's face when he said surgery would be first, followed by chemotherapy and radiation. That wasn't the problem. The problem wasn't that I was going to die. The problem was that I had not lived. Stress, the posh word for fear, had been driving me all my life, just like my father before me. Don't miss your life. Whatever it is that you need to do something. Take the first next step. Just take the first next step. If this has touched you in some way and you start Googling something, or you start listening to your other podcasts, or do something and start to feed your habit to change your life.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Free to choose.
Absolutely. And your freedom is my promise. That's what I say.
Awesome. Deirdre, it's been wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for being so present and sharing. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. It's, this work is always about exchange. So I thank you for the opportunity for me to be here today. And, I thank you, Pete, for the work you're doing. It's amazing. It's incredible. It's inspirational. and you're inspiring me to go further. So thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. Until the next time.
Definitely.
Thank you again.